So, where do I start? Man, Testify and Pitch has been something in the making for a while now. Back in 2017, 2018, God gave me this vision to do a testimony tour. At the time, I had a social media app called Bless App, where we collected testimonies and allowed people a safe space to be able to share anonymously when they needed help or prayer, you name it. And God gave me this big vision back then that these testimonies would kind of morph from being on a platform to literally being on a physical platform in the event type setting. And so life happens. That app shuts down. At the start of 2025, God brought me back to a platform that I had originally built under a different brand called My Testimony is Dope. And so under that brand, we had a lot of merchandise, and it was all about the merchandise, if I can be honest, and less about the sharing of testimonies. I mean, testimonies in the name of the brand. Shouldn't you be sharing testimonies? That's a whole nother story. But God spoke to me in 2025 and he said, hey, you're not doing with the brand what I asked you to do with the brand. And that's to amplify testimonies. And so I stopped selling, started serving. Unclear of why. Why would you have me stop selling when I'm also building a tech startup and I could use the extra resources? But I didn't question it. I was obedient in that season. And while getting familiar with the podcasting platform, getting comfortable, getting out of my little introverted shell, God was using that as a testing environment for me to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so, again, he starts reminding me about the event concept. I think I let the magnitude of an event really delay my actions. And it wasn't until the top of this year, 2026, where it was laid on my heart that, hey, why don't you just use what you already have? I've given you a platform. You've gotten comfortable with podcasting through your other brand. You have access to all these amazing founders. Go after what you know and use what you have. And so I said, you know what? Bam, that's it. I don't need the event today. And honestly, might not be effective to go straight into an event form when there's no brand recognition. And so I said, here's what I'm going to do. Lord, I'm going to be obedient with a little attitude, with a little sass, and I'm going to reach out to 3 people. And we'll see what these 3 people say. So it's funny because I had a date in mind when I was going to reach out, and God had one person kind of come to me in a roundabout way. And that led to me just sliding it in like, hey, since we're talking about it, since you're suggesting something, you want to be one of the first guests on the platform? And they gave me an automatic yes. I got a little scared then, I'll be honest. Second person, yes. Third person, yes. They were like one after another. And I said, man, okay, I can't use that as an excuse. And so once I set up the first pre-recording call for us to just go over the process, here's what they told me. They said, I have been waiting on you to ask me all along. And that hit me like, man, while I'm sitting back here playing games, while I'm sitting back here being hesitant and fearful and trying to figure out how I'm going to put all these things together, there's somebody that's been waiting on me to simply ask for their support. Isn't that what we face sometimes as founders, as builders, as creatives? Where we're afraid to potentially reach out and ask somebody something? But that's a whole nother story. So, Testify and Pitch in today's format is our first leap, first step of obedience. And I am trusting that God will show me the steps along the way as we start amplifying these testimonies, as we start putting God in places that he's not traditionally at, that we will see his glory and his grace amongst us, all of us. And so if I had to simply explain the heartbeat behind Testify and Pitch, we talk about building tables all the time. I think Tyler Perry might have been an earlier champion of this concept. Don't complain about a seat at the table, build your own table. But in our tech communities, at least from our perspective, there's often not a seat for God at that table. And God has been showing me that in so many ways. And I've always questioned, like, Lord, why am I in this tech community? I'm supposed to be a doctor. I was a pre-med major in college. Why do you have me in this tech space? Building a SaaS solution at that. Why? Why do you have me in this B2B market? That has nothing to do with a biology degree. And he has been showing me how the place that he has me in is a conduit for where he's sending me. And so I'm so excited about what's going to happen. I don't have to see it. I might not have all the details. I might not know all the whys and the whos and the wheres. But what comforts me is knowing that God has called me on this mission and that I'm being obedient. And so because of those two things, I have nothing to worry about. My hope is that every person that joins this platform as a guest, every person that supports and amplifies and comments and likes and shares the content will be a part of this bigger mission and will be blessed in the process. I think there's a statistic about 90% of startups fail. And I like to think that the more we start giving God a seat at the table, the more we start putting God at the top of our org charts in that CEO capacity, in that founder capacity, then the more we'll get closer to going from the 90% that fail to, it's down to 80%. To maybe we get it down to 70%, and so on and so forth. That's a longer term vision. But while we're here today, let's embrace what we have. I thank you all in advance for joining me on this journey. I know it won't be easy. So I thank y'all in advance for joining me on this journey through the learnings that we're going to experience together, through the highs, through the lows, through the awakenings, through the celebratory moments, through the breakthroughs that are going to come from this. I say thank you in advance. And I'm truly, truly excited to see what God is going to do in this season. So I think I've said enough on this unscripted recording. Did I forget anything? Nah. Thank y'all.